everybody. This is Mackenzie Overholzer, and welcome to Lifeline Podcast, where I relate everyday circumstances with an everyday loving God. Okay, it's been obvious in the news lately, and it's been obvious everywhere that we look. We can't even look anywhere without hear or talk about this virus. I mean, I'm not going to focus on that today, but what I'm going to focus on is what we can do rather than what we can't do during what we're all going through. So right now, I'm going to think back a little bit, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, before any of this hit news, before any of this came to light. The common excuse that we give each other whenever we think of church and reading our Bibles and talking to people that we need to reach out to, because God put that on our heart to reach out to them and talk to them and to just carry on a conversation or meet up with some people. I always thought to myself, I'm too busy for that. I have work to do. I have to go to work, and then after work, I have to run here, I have to run there, I have to go maybe meet these other people elsewhere, maybe go to this meeting or go to these groups that I have to go to, and then I just didn't have time. I didn't have time to read into my Bible. I didn't have time to pray as much as I should, and I didn't have time to reach out to those people that God wanted me to reach out to. I just didn't have time. And I feel like those are the excuses that we give each other, and I hate to say if I'm stepping on our toes by saying excuses, because these are things that we need to do, but we need to prioritize better. In my kind of way of thinking, we need to prioritize a little bit better. Because if I would prioritize God first, and then everything else should fall into place. But right now, with this quarantining going on and us having these social distances of 6 feet or more, no more than 10 people in a place, or just not meeting up all together, I don't know about you guys, but me and my extrovertedness, I am getting kind of washed up over here. I love my hugs and I love my handshakes. I love all of that, being able to communicate with people. I just love doing all that. And now when it's completely cut off, it's like, wow. You're starting to realize the small things we take for granted every day. Like being able to go out and eat in a restaurant. Now we can't. We can't go out and eat in a restaurant. Being able to gather with a group of friends just to hang out and have fun, we can't even do that now. We can't even see all the people that we see on a regular basis to reground ourselves and gravitate toward each other and to uplift each other. We can't even physically see each other. And I know people are saying, oh, there's always texting. Oh, there's always phone calls and stuff like that. But there was someone that made a very good point earlier in this week, and she is, I'm not going to go into detail about who she is, but all you need to know is that she is self-quarantining due to what's going on and some symptoms maybe she had. And she's like, I am so sorry if I tell you that a phone call is good enough. Just calling someone up is good enough. Just texting them is good enough. That's okay. I mean, you don't have to see them every day, or you don't have to go there every week. It's okay. Just that phone call's fine. Not staying in, human contact. Just call them. Just do that. She said, I would like to say I am so sorry for that, because she hasn't been able to see anybody for a long time. Kind of like the rest of us that are trying to self-quarantine or whatever. You haven't been able to see anybody. Nobody. No talking face-to-face. No interaction. Nothing. And I mean, wells are getting pretty dry out here, guys. And it's just brightening up. I feel like this is opening up a whole new world that we didn't even realize we had. That we're taking so advantage of different things. Some, things just right here at our disposal. Like going out to eat, being able to have a conversation, being able to have a bonfire on a cold night, being able to just cook out together and eat and fellowship with one another, being able to just have that conversation, just being able to reach out and hug somebody just to know that they're there. I mean, during these times it can be difficult, I think. And I mean, really, I don't know if anyone else has ever thought of this, but it's kind of really opening up my eyes to what we take advantage of every day that God has graciously given us, or graciously giving us the ability to have. Those ties are being cut because we have to self-quarantine or self-distance. So, like what I was talking about previously, before all of this hit, that I was always so busy. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't read anything. I was always busy going off and doing something else. Now, yes, I do still work since I'm in healthcare, but I'm not going out to eat after work. I'm not going out to hang out with people after work. I'm not going out to different groups after work. I'm not going out and doing anything after work. It's work and home. That's all. That's it. That's it. Work and home. How much more free time can I get now? How many more excuses can I throw out there? I mean, I'm sure I could still keep giving excuses, but there is really no excuse now for what's going on. So I think God is giving us this time to reconnect. Reconnect with ourselves, reconnect with our family. If you're quarantined with them, quarantine with friends, relatives, whatever, whoever you're quarantined with, or even if you're quarantined, just reconnect with each other in a whole different level that we've never done before. I don't know about you guys with this quarantining stuff. Our family's gonna kill each other by the end of it. I mean, it's just, sometimes the heart grows fonder when you're apart. But I mean, it's just all fun and games, guys. I'm just messing. But this whole quarantine thing, I think, is going to give us an opportunity to look around and realize what we have and be grateful for what we have when all of this does finally, I don't know when, but finally goes back to normal. We can look around, and when we embrace each other, we will not take that for granted, guys. We will be just relish in it and be like, oh, this feels so good to be able to hug again, or it feels so good to handshake, or it feels so good just to talk to somebody. And I think we need to realize that these things that we take for granted every day are little God gifts that we've just taken advantage of. We have more time for God now than ever. And if you don't feel like you do because you have kids or because you still have to do other things, it's okay. Get like an audio app of some kind and then like put it on where it's reading the Bible to you. So then you don't have to sit here and physically flip pages while trying to change a baby or trying to take care of a kid. You can actually just listen and do what else you need to do. We have more time for God now than I think we do ever before, since we don't have all these other distractions trying to reach and grab for our attention. So we're going to go over here into Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. I'm going to be reading out of the NIV. So if you hear pages turning, I am reading out of my Life Application Study Bible. So you're going to hear some of the commentary coming from that as well. We're going to be in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. This is in red, so this is Jesus speaking. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. I think that's what's happening right now. We're becoming heavy burdened with all the anxieties, the fears, and everything that's going on, that He just wants us to come to Him. Just go to Him. And He is so loving and so understanding, and He will give you rest. He will give you rest. He will lift that burden with whatever's going on. He will give you rest. And I think right now, we're kind of forced to rest, aren't we? I think as an entire human race right now, and it's not just the United States, it's everywhere, it's globally. We are all being forced to rest and forced to stay in our homes, forced to be where we need to be. And He is showing us that we can take the time out of our day to be with Him and to take that complete rest that He wants us to take. I've always said I'm always too busy, but now I've got time. I've got time. And that's what He wants. He wants you to come to Him, all who are weary and burdened. I don't know about you, but I'm always weary and I'm always burdened. Always. Come to Him, and I will give you rest, is what He's saying. That's all He wants. Just go to Him, and He will give you the rest that you need, that no one else can give you. Alright, we're going to go into 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. Alright, it says, cast all your anxiety on Him, because He cares for you. And that's the only explanation they have to give you guys. Because He cares for you. And that's the reason why He wants you to cast all your anxieties on Him, all of your fears, all of your self-doubts. That's why He wants you to cast on Him. Just because He simply cares for you, and He loves you, and He wants the best for you. Just think about it, guys. We need to be wrapping our minds around that this entire time while we're being quarantined, while we're being in our own homes. We need to wrap our minds around that, because we need to stop and realize how much He really does care for us. how much he really does. Cast all your anxieties onto him. He wants it all. He doesn't want just a couple of your anxieties and you can keep the rest. He wants it all. Give it all to him. And I know that's some of these Bible verses, like this one, give him all your anxieties because he cares for you. I believe it. I do. Sometimes some of these Bible verses are easier said than done, because I have trouble with giving him every anxiety, every worry, everything that I'm going through, or every doubt in my mind, because I'm sitting here going, no. And I mean, it never works anytime I do it. But I always sit here and go, well, maybe I can maneuver this around a little bit and make it a little better on my own. It never, ever works out. Ever. So, I know this Bible verse, it's a simple Bible verse with just one sentence. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. And I know that's simple to say, but sometimes it's hard for me to live that out. And I'm human, just like any other person listening today. I am human, and let me tell you, it's hard for me to give you all my anxieties when I stress about them day in, day out. When I shouldn't be. I should just give them all to him, and he'll take care of it completely. So I'm going to read a little bit of the commentary that's in here, in my Bible. Okay. It says, letting God have your anxieties calls for action, not passivity. Don't submit to circumstances, but to the Lord who controls circumstances. Ooh, I think that's pretty good. I think that's where my anxieties come into play, is when I let them run me, and I submit to the circumstances, and I feel like he can't help me. But really, we shouldn't submit to the circumstances, but to the Lord who controls the circumstance. He's in control of every circumstance. What we talked about last week in my podcast, it was even the title of last week's podcast. God's got this. And we've been talking about that a lot lately, because everyone's been on high end of anxiety these past few weeks, and I mean, it's hard to give him over all of our fears and all of our struggles and not think about them again. But we need to let go. Submit to the circumstance, but submit not to the circumstance, but to the Lord who can overcome that circumstance with whatever we're going through. Sorry guys, I got a little tongue-tied there. But we need to not submit to the circumstance, but submit to the Lord so he can take care of that circumstance in every way. Okay, we're going to go to our final Bible verse. We're going to go to Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 8. 1 through 8. I was going to read just the first verse of this, but then I kept reading. And I figured 1 through 8 tied into it very well, I think. It's going to give you all different scenarios, but it ties into exactly what we're talking about today and about everything that's going on, pretty much. I really like this. Okay, verse 1, I'm going to read that for you first, and this is where I was going to stop, but we'll keep going. Verse 1 says, there's a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. To me, that verse 1 is talking about there's a time for everything in this life, and a season for every activity under the heavens, so on earth. There's a season for every activity, there's a time for everything. So we need to trust in God's timing and know that he will prevail through everything. Through this illness, through all of our turmoils, through all the way into our future. So I'm going to go ahead and keep reading through verse 2 on through verse 8. I'm going to start over. Verse 1 through verse 8. There's a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Exactly like what we're going through now. Time to embrace and a time to refrain. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. It's what's pretty much showing you through verse 1 through 8 in chapter 3 of Ecclesiastes. It's giving you all these different scenarios. There's always a time, a perfect timing of when to laugh, of when to leap, of when to tear down, a time to build up, a time to heal, a time to speak, a time to be silent, a time to love, and a time of war, and a time for peace. There's different times for different scenarios underneath the heavens. And right now, we are in a time. We are in a scenario right now, what we're going through. And it's the time, this is the time of season that we need to see through it, and we can persevere and prevail through this. I'm going to read you the commentary a little bit, because I really liked the commentary on what this was trying to say. It says, timing is important. All the experiences listed in these verses are appropriate at certain times. The secret to peace with God is to discover, accept, and appreciate God's perfect timing. The danger is to doubt or resent God's timing. This can lead to despair, rebellion, or moving ahead without His advice. Like us jumping the gun a little bit. Just move on ahead and not even care about what His plans are for us. We just jump the gun and we move ahead without any of His advice or guidance. And He doesn't want us to do that. He wants us to embrace whatever time we are in. If we are in this time of quarantine, if we are in this time of whatever we're going through, all of our anxieties, He wants us to embrace this time and seek His face to be able to get through what we're going through and to push past this and move forward, because there's a time for everything. Our time for peace and our time to be able to go back to what we were before will come, but it'll come on His time. And I really did think that it was kind of funny in verse 5 when it says a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Guys, we're in that time to refrain from embracing. We will get back to the time when we can embrace each other one again. But it's seasons. We can't just skip over summer and go straight to winter. We can't skip over spring and go straight to winter or fall or whatever. We can't skip seasons. Seasons and times will come. It's about us persevering and going through them and overcoming whatever season we're in. So today, I want all of us to really uplift each other on what's going on in these times, in this world, in this season. I know that we can get through this and we will go back to what we were before, but at the same time, I feel like that we shouldn't fully go back to the way we were before. Let me explain that a little bit. What I mean by that is, I hope we all learn a lesson through this. To seek God's face, even in the good times and even in the bad times. Not just in the bad times we should seek His face. It's always, all the time, we need to seek Him. There's a time for everything, like what we just learned today. There's a time and a season for everything. So let's embrace the season we're in now. Let's look around, let's make the best out of it, and cast all of our anxieties and fears onto Him, because He will help us through any kind of circumstance. And all He wants you to do is go to Him, all who are weary and burdened, and He will give you rest every day. Okay? Well, let's go ahead and close in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to You today humbled by being able to experience this life and being able to experience the little pleasures that You give us in this life, and to be able to realize how much You've given us every day. The ability to converse in person, and the ability to embrace each other, and handshakes and everything that we just take for granted every day. The love that we show each other. God, I pray that we learn our different lessons that we need to learn through these circumstances, but I pray, God, that You give us the strength to be able to go through these seasons and trying times, and to be able to come out on the other end even better than what we were before. God, I pray for protection and healing for every person out there, and I pray for this world in general, God. I just pray for all of us. We know that You're all here with us, and I just pray that You can see us through this season of our lives. I thank You, God, so much for everything You do for us. In Your heavenly name, amen. All right, thank you so much for listening into this week's podcast. You can find my videos on YouTube under Lifeline Podcast. You can find my videos on my Facebook page under Lifeline Podcast. Look for the 2 gold L's and the coral heart in the blue background with the white lettering that says Lifeline. You look for that color combination either on my Facebook page, my YouTube channel, Like, comment, share, subscribe. Be sure to tell your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, not in person, not in face, but text them, call them. And be sure to reconnect with somebody that you've been putting off, for a while because you just haven't had time. God's given you the time, so let's use it wisely. If you feel that nagging to talk to somebody or that need to talk to somebody, you just haven't done it because you don't have the time, no better time than the present. All right. Thank you so much for listening in to this week's podcast, and I hope you guys have a great week. Awesome week. God bless you. Bye-bye.